Hello, my name is George, and I'm a combat veteran from Vietnam. What I'd like to say is that veterans come from all the zip codes in America, and I hope that you don't zip line mine, where my VA is San Francisco, and Nancy, that's part of your domain, and most of the documents I have show that they are corrupt. I tell my story in Honor the Living, RememberTheDead.com, which is enclosed with this video. What it shows is a 43-year struggle with the VA where they lie, they cheat, they misdiagnose, they give you the wrong medication, and then they change your diagnosis from a service-connected, in my experience, to a non-service connected. When that action happened in 1978, it took 7 years to get a portion of my benefits back, and I've been fighting them ever since. I went to Vietnam as a first responder in air rescue and recovery. It was the 37th Air Rescue and Recovery Squadron out of Da Nang. This one is the 37th, and this one is the 41st, which was out Marin County and Hamilton Air Force Base before it closed. At the 41st, we went on a secret mission in '72 where they had captured a Soviet Chinese surface-to-air missile, the handheld ones. And the next 2 nights when we were down there, they loaded our helicopter, the HH-53, the biggest and most expensive air rescue helicopter that we've ever had. And we loaded it with all the flares from the Air Force, Army inventory. And we spent 2 nights flying around in circles, testing each one going around. So after testing the flares, I heard nothing more about that until the '73 war, where Israel and Arabs were fighting in the air war. They used the flare system. We see them drop the, and it kept all Americans from getting shot down, where we decimated Arab nations' airplanes. So this is the outfit, the logo we flew under, which is the Abro. This is the outfit I flew under. It's the Angel Gabriel with 2 thunderbolts in the wings, and we had C-130 gunship backing us up 24 hours a day in case we ever needed it. Our mission was to fly behind enemy lines, and any pilots or people who were in help, we would go and pick them up. Like in 1971 to '72, I flew on the Christmas raids when Nixon reordered the bombing of North Vietnam, and I spent 14 hours in the Gulf of Tonkin. MiG-21s came within 10 miles of us, and we were flying like 500 feet, and then boom, we were down flying like 20 feet off the water. Okay. We have a VA clinic, a satellite of the San Francisco VA here in Eureka, California, and I would say that the people who work there that I have contact with are the best. They do the best job they can with what they have to work with. The problem with the VA is that it's run out of San Francisco, and the Eureka people don't have power to make appointments or help you outside of what they normally do. You have to get pre-approval through the VA. Now, in pre-approval, this was not the case when fee basis first started. I had a card this size that says I could go for any condition, since I'm service connected, for post-traumatic stress disorder, acute anxiety. I could go in and spend up to $125 a month to see a doctor, or go into my pharmacy when I was living in Weaverville and get a back brace, I could get toothpaste and things like that. That changed in '94 when the Republicans came into office with Newt Gingrich and his gang, and they started corrupting the VA. In that period, they took away prescription drugs, Class B, for veterans, and pharmacies in the local area in Eureka had to stop accepting them. And Class B is like you have to have it for your life. If you don't have them, you could die and stuff. So they restricted that. Then in 2000, the fee basis card I had was still good, and then they canceled that program and they made it pre-approval for everything. I mean everything. If I go into a dentist, I'm supposed to have pre-approval to have them look at a tooth before they can do anything with it. What has happened is the choice program stopped paying benefits and care providers for the expense that they have. The choice program was changed recently in 2013 or so when they created Tri-West, which is a second or third provider that the choice does the work. They put it to Tri-West and they call you and say, hey, we can make this appointment or not. They give you a 1-800 number. And for me, all the waste that you hear about, like Phoenix Rising, when that happened, the delayed time, that is still going on. Like I had approval for February 2018 to have nerve block treatment through a local pain specialist. They do epidurals or nerve block treatment. That was approved. Then the VA canceled it and they said I had to have an MRI. And that was like 10 months ago. And they approved it, but they approved it without contrast when it was supposed to be with contrast. And they ran me around calling every week for months. And finally, I have it approved, or they approve it correctly. I talk to the people who do MRIs and they say, you don't qualify, you have a pacemaker. You know, I had open heart surgery in December a year ago, and they replaced the corroded valve, and that's when I had the pacemaker put in. So I find that now the VA has called me again. They say you have to have a CAT scan with contrast to make sure that my spine is okay, or it finds the damaged spots. And this is arbitrary only to the VA itself. I just made an appointment to see the pain specialist. I'm going to pay out of my Medicare. And in trying to get a supplemental policy, I don't qualify through Blue Shield because I take too many drugs, illegal drugs that is, and they don't accept it. And the heart thing, she said. So I'm paying for the difference, which could be a couple $1,000s for the nerve block treatment, because I need it. I needed it then, not then and then and then. It's been pure misery, and it sucks having the VA as a care provider. As a veteran, I am proud of what I did, where I went, and it sucks being a veteran. In my website, Honor the Living, Remember the Dead, I have a 43-year comp and pension dispute with the VA. So to continue, this is probably the hardest thing I have done in trying to gain recourse through the VA. Now that the Republicans have lost control of Congress, I finally have a person and a group of people who support veterans and their benefits. This wasn't the case, and I would hope that this would change. That's why I'm talking to you now, to hope that you would change the VA to do your investigations. Like my case, 43-year compensation pension appeal is valid as it was 40 years ago as it is now. And the VA keeps on punting my case down the court, down the field, and they've never answered my concerns. They always say, well, you have the same information here, there's no new information, so we're not going to do anything. Or under the rules and regulations, I have the opportunity to file anytime when it's based on clear and obvious mistakes, which is within my website. And I would just need to do is to reformulate it into the VA jargon, issues, statement of the case. And the statement is they lied, they cheated, they stole the mental health, altered their diagnosis to correspond with what they wanted them to do and denied me my rights and benefits. And this has been going on for years with the VA. And what I would say is right now, coming up, you have one of the greatest powers in the country, other than in funding or not funding, like the Veterans Administration. You have the power to fire. According to the internet, it's not used very much. And if you look at the VA, the Republicans who broke it, who are using it as a financial sleeve sift to take and deny veterans even these long waits for treatments. They pay themselves and the people in part of the organization, like Tri-West. They have another echelon of people who control the money strings and the kind of benefits you get. So in the powers of fire, the only obligation is that it's poor performance. So if you look at the VA, it's all poor performance in how they treat us, how they deal with us, and denying us what our true benefits are and our true rights are. To really change the Veterans Administration and to have it to work for all veterans, not just a few, is to fire the people who run the VA in this big, like San Francisco, you have the president or whatever you call that. It's like run like a dictatorial state where they get to do what they want to do when they do it. And poor performance gives you the ability to lay off, fire, remove the criminals that have taken over and were put into the VA by the Republican Party. In my talking about the VA and their mental health system, there's a statistic, 300,000 veterans that committed suicide since the Vietnam War is over. That's about 58,000 every 10 years, maybe less. It's in my website. But the 300,000 who committed suicide, 150,000 went in and saw the Veterans Administration for psychiatric help. They committed suicide. So, or they were given drugs that caused them to adverse effects and causes them to die. Now, I went through that withdrawing from Thorazine and some of the others where I crossed over, and it was the hardest thing is to let go, and oh my God, I'm dead, oh. And I could see my ancestors going back. I looked into the eyes of heaven, and he kicked me back, and maybe a dozen times I've been kicked back from that side. And it's a beautiful place, and I would rather have that place be here for us when we're alive. So it shows with the 150,000 who committed suicide and those who didn't, that those who did not go in killed themselves anyway. Or they heard from their friends who did go into the VA and they said, that's not for me. These drugs are killers. They don't work. They make you crazy, even more so. And side effects is some of the drugs I was given in 2013, 1 in 200 veterans would kill themselves. So every 200 veterans who took this one drug, one would kill themselves. Then another drug they gave me was 1 in 400, the other one was 1 in 400, so I stopped taking them, period, because they didn't work. And my care provider told me, if you take this one, within 2 weeks, you'll be out of pain, period, you'll be out of pain, so just please take this. Then I had an episode where this voice came in and said, kill yourself, kill yourself. It took about 5 minutes. But I have my gun in one area, the clip in another, and the bullets in a third place. And I kept going around, my gun's here, my God, kill yourself, wow, I gotta do this. And my bullets are over here. But I could never put them together to be able to take an action to do that to myself. And it was just the drugs. In closing, I ask that you don't zip line us, because I'm not in your area or any area that veterans live, and come together and make a change in the VA. My case is similar to what veterans go through, and I kept my documentation. I hope that you go through and take a look at it and help us. My website was published last month in October of 2018. Thank you.